Okay, we're right on time and we're following the agenda. And if you look down at your agenda, you will notice that we have reached a point where we're going to be having a safety update from the Coastal Harvesting Advisory Group. And we have the CEO of Western, Don Demens, that is going to come up on behalf of the advisory group and will be enlightening you on some directions and focus from a coastal perspective. Don, please.
You gonna mic me? All right. Okay, sure. Yep. Back pocket. Second hold period. Yeah, that's great. All right. We'll give this a try. Well, great. I'd like to thank you, begin by thanking the organizers for creating this conference and allowing me to address you today. I'm not going to thank them for having me follow two doctors and right before lunch, but anyway, we'll see if we can go through this. As you can see by the slide, I'm here to represent not just Western, but also the other significantly large companies, government agencies that operate on the coast, and we've got a new initiative to talk to you about today. I think also I'd like to make sure I talk to you and thank you and each of you for your commitment that you make to making a positive difference in safety in your own workplace. I think that's very important. As you see on the slide, I think you've seen this kind of performance from an MIR perspective before in your companies or organizations you've worked in. We as an industry have come a long way. We've achieved these results by improving procedures, increasing engagement, providing on-ground support, and by committing just to do better. But the reality is serious incidents continue to occur, and some of those incidents result in fatalities. Last year, 7 of our coastal industry team didn't come home to their families. These 7 tragic deaths remind us that we need to do more to prevent accidents from occurring. So a group of industry leaders got together, committed to delivering positive change in our industry, committed to eliminating serious incidents in the workplace, and I think equally importantly, committing and believing that we can get to a zero-incident workplace. So earlier this year, senior leaders from Timber West, myself, Island, Interfor, the TLA, BC Forest Safety Council, BCTS, and the USW gathered to discuss the status of safety in our industry and recognize the progress that we have made to date, but also determine how we can come together to reduce serious injuries and fatalities. Collectively, the group represents the companies and government agencies that harvest the lion's share of a coastal cut or are responsible for that harvest. Many of the steering committee members are here today, and I encourage you to reach out to them and engage in discussion with them over lunch. Following our discussions, we organized a working group called the Coast Harvest Advisory Group, made up of representatives from our companies, contractors, and the USW. The advisory group was given a clear mandate from the steering committee, and that was to analyze injuries on the coast, make recommendations to systematically change our practices and behaviors to permanently reduce serious injuries. This advisory group is made up of individuals who are passionate and want to make a difference. So our investigations have shown that falling and bucking continue to account for almost half of the fatalities on the coast. As such, the advisory group will concentrate its efforts, at least in the first phase of this process, in this phase of harvesting. Working with the following technical advisory committee, the group has implemented and recommended the following. Faller stacking will no longer be an acceptable practice on the coast. The industry will move to certified bullbuckers. Danger tree blasting will be made available and part of the toolkit for all fallers. And phase management and our processes around phase management will be reviewed. We need to manage numbers and reduce congestion through better planning. We recognize that, and we're going to work towards improvements there. It's fair to say that these recommendations are going to take time to implement, but in the meantime, I'd like to remind all the supervisors and forest workers here today, you have the authority and the accountability. Stop work and seek assistance if you feel congestion is creating a hazard or you feel undue pressure to speed through your work. While this initiative addresses timberland safety, I don't want to let the manufacturing group that are here today to think you're left out. In fact, much of the organization structure we've identified for the Harvest Advisory Group is an approach we've launched and used through the Manufacturing Advisory Group. This group was formed by industry CEOs, including myself, in response to the tragic mill fires in the interior. The work the dust mitigation group the work by the dust mitigation group drove us to look at all of our procedures in our manufacturing facilities and led to important improvements in manufacturing safety. We expect the same thing to happen here on the coast from a harvesting perspective. So today at the conference, we're learning how to prepare the mind and body for work as we seek ways to change our behavior to improve safety. With that goal in mind, we've asked the BC Forest Safety Council to build training modules to assist supervisors and workers on becoming more self-aware of their physical and mental state, improving hazard assessments and incident investigation standards and training to ensure we understand how to get to the root cause of issues, because it's when we do these investigations that we learn where we have to change procedures or change behavior. We've also asked the Council to overhaul the safe company audit process to assist companies to develop a more meaningful safety program and safety culture that they can apply on the ground. In addition, we're committing to having more resources through the Council to increase on-ground interaction, to support workers, reinforcing good practices and bringing new ideas and approaches to the job. Even though we're introducing the Coast Harvest Advisory Group strategy for you today, I think you'll see we've already got a lot of things underway. We're up and running, and we're making positive progress toward our goal. So I want to take this opportunity to thank each of you for consistently and without compromise putting safety first each day. For yourself, your teams, your family, and your industry. Through your personal commitment to safety excellence, we have made important progress, and we'll continue to build upon the momentum to drive further success in our industry. We need your ongoing leadership to influence and help others, and to build a culture of safety in our forests and in our mills. So I'd like to ask you and to encourage you to talk to your coworkers in safety conversations, discuss issues, and come up with ideas and that you can share with the advisory group. To make it easier for you to provide input and receive updates, we've created an advisory group input email, and there's now a web page on the BC Forest Safety Council website where you'll be able to receive regular updates of our progress. I firmly believe that together we will make a difference, and by working together to create a new culture of safety in our forests, we will eliminate serious injuries and ultimately create a zero-incident workplace. It's kind of the presentation we have today. It's pretty short, but we've got a lot of work underway. And again, we're not going to be successful unless we engage you and get working together. As part of the process, our team has developed a new video for certified, the process of certifying bullbuckers, and I think that's going to come up right now for you to see.
In September 2004, the forest industry in BC joined together and formed the BC Forest Safety Council, a not-for-profit society dedicated to worker safety. With the support of major licensees, contractors, and industry associations, the following Technical Advisory Committee has developed a certification process to become a certified falling supervisor through the BC Forest Safety Council. Being a certified falling supervisor is an industry best practice that ensures fallers are managed and mentored by qualified supervisors. The first step to becoming a certified falling supervisor is taking the falling supervisor course. This extensive 5-day course will lead you through industry best practices and procedures for developing a block falling plan.
This one it's blowing down, it's kind of ugly, but it's doable. You got a back spar trail right into there, but the rigging crew knows there's going to be lots of loose rock.
Controlling falling activity. Coordinating with other phases of the industry. And managing fallers. After completing the program, supervisors in training practice their new skills in the field. Then, when they're ready, put their years of experience to the test in a thorough in-field examination.
Started to go and uproots that one. You get out here, it goes down, it hasn't brushed anything.
The certified falling supervisor is able to recognize, evaluate, and control all known and reasonably foreseeable falling hazards. Lead BC's forest industry into a new age of safe, productive, and sustainable forestry operations. Find out more and apply to become a certified falling supervisor today at bcforestsafe.org.
So just to conclude, I just want to thank everybody for your attention and just confirm this isn't a one-time event. The leadership of the industry is committed to supporting you to make a difference, and we will fully expect we're going to make that difference as we go forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Don. Very enlightening. Just to bring you up to speed as to where we're at and what we're going to be doing here. The lunch is coming closer to 12 o'clock, and we're not going to queue up like we've done in the past. We're not going to have two gigantic lines. What we're going to end up doing is we're going to have you remain seated, and then the catering staff will reach out and touch your table, and it'll be your turn then to get up, so we'll put some control around it. We had too many people running off to get their hearing tested last year because of Mike shouting at everybody, and it was decided that we'd do the more silent, passive approach, and this hopefully will work better. So if you understand Mike and appreciate the fact that he can be rather loud, you'll really enjoy your lunch a lot better knowing that you don't have to put up with him. And that's all a joke. You know what? If you want me to put up some slides about, aging and what we can do, I can do that too. Kidding. So, is yes? Oh, good. Where? Randall, did you want to say a few more words while we have an opportune moment before we roll into the lunch? Yes? Good. Thank you, Mike. Randall Hurt.
Thank you. So we're partway through the day, and the good thing at this point in time, we're running a little bit ahead of time. So I'm actually going to make some of the comments and talk about some of the issues that I was going to cover at the wrap-up a little bit earlier, where it's a little closer and a little bit more relevant. If you remember at the beginning of this, we said we're really going to be working on two levels and taking this to the personal level, the individual. And part of that reason was because so much work has been done on the big systems. And when we start to go into looking at what's happening right now, it really comes down to the individual. So now you've seen some of the information in the material, so let's start to tie it together, and why are we covering some of the topics that we're covering right now. Unfortunately, I get to look at too much information around the investigations in relation to serious injuries and fatalities. And originally, when we were looking at them, you could oftentimes look back and point to a system issue. The individual wasn't trained enough. They'd never been in this type of situation before. There were time pressures, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of those have begun to diminish, and they aren't the big causes. They're still there sometimes and still a factor, but more often people are looking at the investigations, and partway through it, they're starting to go, this doesn't make sense. We really don't understand what happened, and the individual's work looks very different today than what we normally see. We're surprised at what we're seeing in the field out of this type of investigation. You get some enlightening moments. I have too many conversations with the coroner. Coroner actually likes talking to us because he jokes about it. He says, hey, when I talk to you, I'm talking to live people. I spend most of my time with dead people, so this is very refreshing. That's coroner's humor, I guess. But at the same time, the coroner gives us great insights. And we were chatting about one incident, and I said, we're puzzled by it. And he goes, oh, you mean the one where fatigue was a major factor? Now, John Bulcock was the one who had, from Western Forest Products, was the one who had said that we need to start paying attention to fatigue, and that's why I went to the first fatigue presentation by WorkSafe. So I had been there, and I really sat up, and I said, what do you mean fatigue was a factor? And he said, oh, we look at a lot of things that can drive us to different conclusions, including if people have taken something into their system, things you eat, etc., the body breaks them all down, and we can tell by how much of the original is still there, how much is broken down, when they still had to be awake. And once, if we see that a person was awake shortly before they went to work or late the night before, then we go talk to the family, and we get all kinds of information, which I didn't know until that time was available. And he said, we can begin to tell you in some cases where fatigue is an issue. And when we started to look at that, we began to realize it's actually an issue more times than you would think, and it sometimes fills in that missing link on what's really going on here. So you see it as an emerging area where we're beginning to understand, but you know what? It doesn't change until the people in the field have got a good understanding of it and can use it as a tool and can begin to say, how am I actually doing? And how are the people I'm working with doing? So it leads me into the next kind of trend that we've seen on an individual basis. We've talked about all of these systems changing. We talk about culture changing. We talked about culture last year. And we're at a very interesting point right now. A lot of our culture has shifted, and if you go in the industry, people will tell you things are very different than what they were 5 years ago, 7 years ago, certainly 10 years ago. People are getting much more into planning out, practicing out, making sure that they have good systems in place, getting much more comfortable with telling people to stop if you're not comfortable, risk assessment, hazard assessment. But we still have some people who believe the way to get things done is to jump into the work. A number of our, remember we're talking about this comes down to the individual characteristics right now. We have had a number of fatalities where people around the person have literally said, stop, don't do that, we can do an alternate way, including supervisors and fellow workers, and the individual still said, I'm going to do it, and we ended up with fatalities. So you can set all the systems up around people that you want, but at some point in time, in some cases, you're still coming down to, is the individual really prepared? Is the individual's mind really there? And are we all locked into doing things together? And so that's why we're having some of the sessions that we're having right now. And what we're finding as we work this even more, why the health stuff today? Very, very insightful. But you combine the sleep and you combine some of the health issues, the single largest item that injures people in our industry, seriously, it doesn't cause the fatalities, but seriously, is falls. Almost 30% of all of our serious incidents and almost 30% of the claims across the industry are falls from the same height, in other words, slipping on the road, or falls from elevation, falling off a piece of equipment, falling as you're walking across a log in the block, falling as you step on a rock and twist. And what the medical profession will tell you is the difference between a almost incident and a serious one oftentimes boils down to reaction speed. Remember everything that we were talking about in the fatigue. Remember everything we're talking about in the health issues. And if you are well rested and your reaction speed is up, you're well hydrated, your blood sugar is level, your reaction speed is incredibly fast, and if you are walking along and you step on a small piece of wood and you go like this, if your reaction speed is fast, you literally will pull back, use your balance, recover, and you don't even think anything about it. And if your reaction is down and you're tired and your blood sugar doesn't give you the energy, you fall. And once it starts, people break stuff, people impale themselves on stuff, people twist stuff, people strain stuff, 30%. So we know that to get off the plateau and get down to this next level and take this next step in injury reduction, we still got to work on the big system stuff. Don did a great job. Leadership in the industry is dedicated to that. But we've also got to work on the individual really being in their best shape, best condition, best state of mind to be able to handle what is a high hazard industry. So that's why it was a great opportunity, having just gone through those phases, to kind of lock it in a little bit in your thinking. But the real question that we all have for you again is, okay, you've been here, you've listened, great information. Doesn't make a difference until you take it back to the workplace with you and you start to think, how am I really going to apply that, and how am I going to use it to make our working world better? So I want to thank you for this opportunity to kind of wrap up a little bit of what we've seen in the morning. Like I say, I was going to do it at the end of the day, but it's great to take the opportunity right now while it's fresh in your mind and you get a chance to speak to people. All of the speakers that were here were serious when they said they're going to be available for some questions. Take advantage of that. Have a great lunch. Thank you.
Okay, now, before too many of you run off, we're looking at about 5 minutes, and then the lunch is going to be out. Okay? So if you want to do a little bio break, cool, but you need to come back and sit at your tables. Otherwise, it won't happen in a controlled fashion. So please, bio break, back to your tables, and then somebody will come up and call you down, okay? 5 minutes.